Hey everyone, this is Aaron and Juwan, and you're listening to Wellness for Real People. This show is for people who are on the go, busy, and looking for ways to live their best lives. We focus on wellness topics in mindfulness, exercise, diet, and sleep, and share quick actionable tactics to improve your health and wellness. We're not perfect, but we're trying to get a little better each day. Let's grow on this journey together. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Wellness for Real People. Super excited to have you. My name is Aaron. We've got Juwan here also. And today we're talking about grocery prices. And then here's how to eat healthy and stay on budget. So, really controversial topic. A lot of interesting things happening when you get into the grocery store. So I think this one's really good because, as you know, one of our core principles is diet as part of the holistic package, the lifestyle that we're trying to achieve. So this article today came from UC Health and really discusses 8 tips on how you can be effective when you go into the grocery store, not to despair about rising costs, and finding ways to eat healthy and stay on budget at the same time. So I thought this one was a really good article to kind of fit like our overall focus on nutrition and diet and trying to still stay within budget too, so you're not breaking the bank and stressing yourself out about the rising costs.
Yeah, I got a lot to talk about here, man. Inflation is real, okay?
It's real.
Inflation is up. I cannot get out of the grocery store without spending, it feels like, over $100. And don't
Right?
let me
You're
go
like,
to
I just got
Costco.
like 10 things, and you're like, what?
Yeah, man.
Uh,
Well, let me go to Costco, man. Then that's, oh man, the bill is crazy over there. I have no self-control in there. So yeah, I'm excited to talk through. I thought there were some great tips in this specific article to help us be a little bit more mindful and, like you said, eat healthy and stay on a budget. So
yeah. So this one, I think the first tip is huge. Plan first. So before you get into the grocery store, have a plan. And so this one really hit home for me, mostly because I'll go to the grocery store sometimes on a whim because it's like on my way and I might have a little extra time. That's the worst time to go because then you end up just like hitting up the aisles and buying stuff like, oh, I've always wanted to try that, or that looks good, or that's interesting. And then you end up getting home and realizing you don't have the ingredients you need to cook a meal. And so you just eat whatever junk food you bought or something fast and frozen, or, DoorDash happens. So having a plan is really important. So the article recommends to take a look at what you have in the freezer or the pantry, choose recipes based on what you have already to help minimize food waste and save money. I thought that was so important because
yeah,
sometimes I go into the pantry and I'm like, man, I've got like dried beans, like all kinds of different, like sauces and things that we can cook up, stuff in the freezer that's still good, different types of meats and things. And so I'm like, man, we could have made a whole meal before I even went into the store, and not realize it. Or I might just need a few things, right? I just need like maybe, one element here or a little bit here just to complete a recipe. So
yeah.
I thought that was huge.
Yeah. That's a big one, man. Just this week it happened with over here at our house. We had a busy week last week, and we normally try to go to the grocery store on on Sunday to kind of prep for the week, but it's a holiday weekend and we didn't get around to it. And then I'm just so used to the habit of going to the grocery store to get everything for the week. And my wife is like, well, did you even check what we have? Like, we got a lot of stuff already in the freezer. We
Yeah.
shouldn't need to get at least any meats, any protein, and we probably have some frozen veggies in there too. Lo and behold, I look in the freezer, we got a treasure trove of stuff that we bought, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh man, I was about to hear, I had a whole plan in my head about all the stuff I was gonna get. It's grilling season. I'm gonna get some more
Yeah.
meats, and we already got a freezer full of stuff, right? And so I love that tip of, really being diligent about checking what you have first. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up around plan first is I think you can plan for those serendipitous kind of fun moments at the grocery store. So one
Mm.
thing, I try to do is, I'm gonna make some impulse purchase when I go to the store. The key is just managing that, right? So I plan to buy one thing that's not on the list, one thing and one thing only. And
That's
so
nice.
it gives me a little fun and a little bit of freedom in that journey. So I don't feel like a robot just sticking to the list, but I can
Yeah.
I can actually, okay, now I got to really pick this out. Do I really want this tapenade, or do I really want, whatever, what have you, right? And so I want to just bring that little idea into it in terms of planning, adding that into the planning process if that works for you. Some people, they're really good at being disciplined and sticking to the list, but if you're like me and you're a little bit more mortal, right? Maybe just planning for a little fun can
Yeah.
be an adventure when you go to the store.
No, man, that's huge. And I know it's like the same thing with like, nutritional plans and workout plans. It's like at some point you can't just eat the same exact meal over and over again and be satisfied and happy. It's going to get you some of the results you want, but you're probably going to be miserable and you're easily going to slide back into bad habits when you reach that wall or that threshold. So having that little fun just kind of keeps you motivated and going. And of course, you're enjoying your life. So I think that's important. Lastly, in that section, they just talked about another way is just choosing recipes with repeated ingredients, and kind of having a plan on your calendar so that way you reduce waste. You're not like picking meals that are like completely unique every single time, but maybe something that's in the same vein, right? Or the same type of category of meal. So if it's like something that always uses like a certain protein or something that always uses a certain type of bean or a certain type of vegetable, and then building around that is a way to kind of have like a plan. And then, when you have those moments where you need like a quick fire meal, you know what to go to, right? You're not just frustrated, like, oh man, I got to go find a whole new recipe out there somewhere. I don't know how to cook it. I don't know how I have the ingredients. Oh, let's just order DoorDash, right? So, so those busy nights will catch you
Yeah.
if you don't have a plan or if you don't have something that's easy to make and repeatable. And then this one is like what Jawan just mentioned, like key, be wary of impulse purchases. So like you said, giving yourself that budget on having like one of those impulse purchases is like a super great tip. I'm going to take that one going forward. But they said one way to minimize these impulse purchases is to list grocery items based on the aisle that they're in to streamline your shopping and limit your trips to the store once or twice a week, right? So that way you're just kind of focused on one section. Each time you go, you're likely to make at least one impulse purchase, which is cool. But if you go 4 times a week or multiple times a week because you're, constantly like searching for what meal to make next or whatever, you're more likely to just see something like me on those aisles and like, ooh, that looks good. I want to try that or that. So that's one of the way they said to consider your budgets, to be wary of those purchases.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, I have different stores that I go to because they have different things, right?
Mhm.
Like this store has this one thing that I like and it doesn't have this other thing, so I gotta go to this other store. So I probably have a rotation of about 3 or 4 different stores that I go to. And I've noticed that if I can build a grocery list based on which store I'm going to, it makes a big difference because I like to this point,
Mm.
I know where the stuff is in the
Yep.
store. So the other day, I just happened to be in another area. And I'm like, oh, let me run by the grocery store. It's the exact same company, but it's a different location.
Different
And
layout.
yeah, totally different layout. And I was freaking out in there because I could not find, the things that I was looking for that I know where they are at the location that I normally go to. And like you said, lo and behold, I end up buying a bunch of some extra stuff because I'm just wandering through the whole store trying to find this stuff, right? This new store. So I thought that was really, really, really powerful tip around um, just kind of understanding where things are and built in the store that you go into and building your list around that.
Totally. And then the next tip is make vegetarian proteins your quote unquote go-tos. So what they mean is that we've seen that prices of meat can be rising. They fluctuate where they're like tremendously expensive or sometimes they're more affordable. But oftentimes beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, tofu, and eggs are, eggs are hit or miss too, right? But they're not only healthy, but they're also relatively inexpensive compared to meat. And sometimes they could have additional health benefits, as we know, like certain types of meat aren't always good for you in abundance or overload. So making those vegan or vegetarian, excuse me, proteins your go-tos kind of simplifies things, right? So if you always have like some type of bean or nut or egg dish or something to go to, you're less likely to just start spending money on all kinds of different meats. And like you said, it's like grilling season. Let me go buy all these steaks and everything else and do all this stuff. And it's like, maybe not, like, you're going to cook all that. When are you going to cook all of that? You got like a freezer full of things, but this is a good way to keep your budget down and then still get that protein that you need.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely the prices of meats are definitely going up. We were just talking about this the other week, right? The
Mhm.
price of oxtails, just it just skyrocketed in the
It's
last
insane.
year. Yeah,
Out of nowhere too. You just go to the store one day and you're like, what? It's like $27 for basically a pound. That's it. And that could be maybe two people. And if you're having an event, then you got to double, triple, or quadruple that amount. Like that's expensive, right? So it's crazy, man. It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
The next tip is shop the aisles. So, shopping the perimeter of the store is a good way to avoid processed foods. But within the aisles, you can find those protein or the vegetarian proteins like beans. You can find other things that are nutritious like rolled oats, canned fish, all these things that are healthy. They're often also cheaper than foods on the perimeter. So, one of the things is just avoid like the chip, the cookie aisle, the donut aisle, all those things, because that's like where you get caught. But you can find a lot of good things within the aisles as well, too. Like you said, as long as you have a plan on which aisles you're going to shop, that'll kind of help you limit, your exposure to all these other tasty distractions.
So you
Um,
telling me my route to the store, in the store, I need to stop going first and foremost to the chips and cookie aisle. That's what you're telling
Probably.
me in this article.
Yeah. Probably you can take one tip, just stop doing that, and you're probably gonna save money and help yourself from a health standpoint.
Oh man, I gotta change some things up, man. That's my favorite
Yeah,
aisle to go down. There's so many different
there's
kinds of
so many
chips and cookies.
options.
Yes, man.
And
They
there
all
always
so
is a new
tasty.
flavor or some kind of new brand that just pops up, and you're like, maybe. And then you end up getting that. And that just kind of repeats itself. Like if you make more trips to the grocery store, you have more exposure.
Mhm.
And then the article also said that frozen and canned fruits and vegetables are another good way to kind of like think about ways to extend the shelf life of your veggies and your fruits. They can be just as nutritious, cost less, and in some cases, they might be cheaper than like some of the fresh foods and give you a chance to use them because it's tough, man, when you like, you get like all these vegetables, you have good intentions and you end up wasting half of it. So don't skip out on those frozen and canned fruits and vegetables. Those are another alternative and a good option.
Yeah, we've been using those quite often here lately. And yeah, I'm a big fan of it. The frozen veggies. Especially on those busy weeknights,
Mhm.
where you don't want to wash and cut and prep all the veggies. Just like get a frozen bag. Pop it in the air fryer or pop it in the microwave real quick, let it steam up, and you got some great nutritious food right there, like you said, without having to worry about the food waste that comes with having food sitting in the refrigerator for too long. So I'm a big proponent of frozen veggies, at least having some on hand at all times in the freezer. Now, the key, going back to the other point, is remembering that we got it, so I don't go
Yeah.
out and get more. But that's a whole other story.
All right.
So the next tip that the author brought up was, you know, buy in bulk and drink water. So, she mentioned, yeah, don't hesitate to buy the family size pack of meat. It's often less expensive than the smaller portions. And if you're planning ahead, you can even freeze out what you don't use immediately. And so, I think that's where at least the idea of a Costco membership came in mind. And then, of course, I got in there and then I have no self control. I'm just buying 27 pounds of everything, a pantry full of stuff that I'm not going to use until, 2027 or something. But definitely on the proteins, the meats, buying in bulk can really help. And then she also mentions the importance of making water your beverage of choice. Instead of soda and sports drinks that one aren't necessarily healthy and they're not cheap. And add in there, because I'm a big tea drinker. We happen to drink a lot of tea. We just happen to have a tea company, so tea is I drink tea and water as my go-tos.
Yep.
To try to drink things that are a little bit, well, a lot more healthy than the sodas and the energy drinks and the sports drinks that are on
Yep.
the market. So thought those were some great tips. Um, the next step is, not everything has to be organic. I thought this was pretty pretty powerful. She says, some people will say, if I can't afford organic fruits and vegetables, then I shouldn't eat them at all. And, Larson said that my philosophy is it's more important that you eat fruits and vegetables, whether they are conventional or organic, than to not eat them at all. So if organic isn't in your budget, you can still eat healthy. And so I thought, that's a really, really, really smart and powerful little tip. So
Yeah, so important for like our listeners out there that may not have access to like the big stores like a Whole Foods or somewhere that you can get large volumes of organic, and then you see like the sticker shock in the store if they're sitting side by side. You're like, well, like I said, I can't afford that, and you just like avoid it completely. It's like, no, just take the other option, right? It's still better than nothing.
right.
So I thought that was huge.
Now, this next tip might be a little controversial, but I'm excited to get into it. So she says, try online shopping and meal delivery services. In the beginning, you may think that these may be more expensive than going to the grocery store yourself, but there might be some benefits for some folks in different situations where it can make it, advantageous. So one of the big benefits of, shopping for groceries online is you can see the total before you check out. Right. Whereas when we go into the store, you just add us a bunch of stuff to the cart, and you might have an idea of what it's going to be in your head, but that's usually a lot less than when you get to the register, right? And the grand total pops up there. So kind of shopping online allows you to look for cheaper brands and different options, before you hit that submit order button.
Yeah, and it's so much like easier too, because like if you shop online, you don't have that embarrassment of like, oh, can you take this or that off, at the register, and then you've got a line of people queuing up, just kind of looking at you like, what is this guy doing? He's got this huge cart full of stuff, and he's trying to be selective. It's like, no, it's tough to say no to something once you hit that register. You're like, let me just pay and get out of the way. So, like you said, online, you see that total, you can hit that little X button, like, nope, don't need that, or let me get an alternate for that. And it's, like I said, it can save you a lot more money and really focus on what you need
Yeah.
and reduce impulse buying.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think of it in terms of, it might be a little more expensive than going in the store and buying the ingredients yourself. But if you think of it in terms of maybe instead of going out one night a week, you can actually order your groceries online, right? Well, in that case, you probably can get, several meals out of that trip, right? With leftovers and things, and get really great restaurant quality food, but actually make it last a lot longer and probably be a lot healthier, honestly, if you cook it. If you cook it yourself, you find a recipe that you really like. So just one tip, one idea that may or may not work for you, but I thought it's worth discussing. And then the last tip that she brought up was just don't forget about enjoyment, right? Like we talked about earlier in our discussion, that's an important part of just staying on a sustainable journey. Is making sure that you have some joy in what it is that you're doing. So canned green beans may be cheaper than the fresh green beans, but if you're more likely to eat and enjoy the fresh green beans, then my goodness, just pay the little extra cost, and it's worth it for you in the long run. And don't forget that paying a little bit more for those healthier options is a good investment in your health, in preventing, a lot of problems and issues down the road that could be much more costly. So ultimately, you are investing in your health and decreasing future medical expenses, Larson says. So I thought, these were some really great ideas and thoughts that I'm going to work on incorporating into my weekly trips to the grocery store that I think can, like we mentioned, help us stay eat healthy and also stay on budget, with a key emphasis on the on budget part.
Yes. All right, thanks everybody for listening. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.